They thought they had buried me in the past. They thought the night they broke me, the night they killed her, would be the end of my story. But tonight, the city itself breathes my revenge. Started like a game. Bright lights, laughter, a summer evening when life felt untouchable. We ran through the streets with no fear, no weight on our shoulders. She held my hand, spinning me in circles in the middle of the square, her voice carrying over the music and the hum of cars. We were alive, and for a few hours the world felt like it belonged to us. But shadows don't stay hidden forever. They came out of nowhere, men in black, a swarm of faceless predators. At first I thought it was some cruel joke, some prank meant to scare us. But their eyes were cold, and the way they moved told me they had done this before. They circled us, pushed us into an alley, cut off every way out. Her scream still burns in my ears. The first punch knocked me to the ground, the second stole the breath from my chest. I tried to fight, but they were too many. Boots and fists rained down, every strike hammering into me like I was nothing. And when I looked up through blood and broken vision, I saw them grab her. She begged. They laughed. And when it was over, she didn't move again. They left us there shattered. Took everything, our money, our phones, even the small bracelet she wore. To them it was a trophy. To me it was the last piece of her. That night I swore one thing: I would not die their victim. I would rise as their nightmare. The years that followed turned me into something else. The boy they beat in the street was gone. In his place grew a shadow. I studied, built, learned everything about their world. Their names, their faces, their sins. Piece by piece, I carved out the foundation of something greater than revenge. A city. Not a city you'll find on a map. Not streets filled with tourists or skyscrapers glowing with glass. No, this was a labyrinth of steel and secrets, built beneath the surface, stitched together from abandoned tunnels, forgotten blocks, broken buildings nobody cared to remember. To anyone else it would look like ruin. To me it was home. To them it would be hell. Every streetlight here hides a camera. Every alley is a trap. The billboards don't sell ads, they sell truth, flashing back the sins they tried to erase. Even the walls whisper with hidden speakers, ready to scream their crimes back at them. This city was my weapon, my stage, my justice. And tonight the curtain would rise. They woke up here with no idea how. One by one, dragged from their beds, their cars, their empty lives of arrogance. When their eyes opened, they were standing in the square I built, broken statues towering above them, a giant clock hanging over the plaza, ticking down from midnight. Confused, they shouted, cursed, demanded answers. Then the speakers roared to life. My voice. The voice they thought was gone forever. Do you remember me? They froze. Even after all this time they knew. You left me broken in the street. You killed her and you laughed. But this city doesn't forget. Every brick here remembers what you did. And now, so will you. Panic spread across their faces. Some tried to act tough, spitting insults into the empty square. Others looked around, searching for cameras, exits, anything. There is no escape, I told them. The city is closed. The clock is your only truth. Every hour you will face the sins you buried. And when the last second falls. The clock struck 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. The lights in the square flared red. This city will decide if you live or if you are erased. They screamed at the sky. But the city didn't care. It had already chosen its prey. And I watched them, high above in the control room, my fingers resting on the console. The cameras fed me every angle. I saw the fear in their eyes. The same fear she had before they silenced her forever. My heart burned, but it was steady. I had waited too long for this. This was not just revenge. This was justice carved into steel and shadow. This was the city of revenge. The first hour ended with silence. They thought nothing would happen, that maybe this was some elaborate prank, a sick trick to scare them. But at the stroke of the next hour, the city woke up. The statues surrounding the square groaned as hidden gears turned inside their hollow stone bodies. Their arms began to move, stretching out with blades of metal that gleamed under the blood-red lights. The ground beneath the square split into sections, some rising, some sinking, until the plaza itself looked like a broken chessboard. One of them, the loudest, the one who had spit at the cameras, lost his balance. The tile beneath him dropped into darkness. He barely managed to leap to the next square, his scream echoing through the city. The others rushed, stumbling over one another, panic erasing any sense of loyalty. It didn't take long before two more slipped, crashing into the abyss below. Their cries faded into silence. The survivors stood frozen, realizing this was real. This wasn't a prank. This was the beginning. From my control room I whispered into the mic. Two gone. 10 remain. I saw the recognition hit them. Their eyes darted upward, toward the cameras hidden in the corners of every streetlight, every shadow. They heard my voice and remembered. You never counted me before. You never thought I mattered. But now I'm the only one keeping score. One of them shouted, "Coward! Face us yourself." I leaned closer to the mic. You want me? Survive the city. And maybe, you'll earn the right to see me. The clock continued its merciless countdown, 22 hours. The streets opened. Doors unlocked, revealing corridors lined with graffiti. But the graffiti wasn't random. It was their crimes painted in huge dripping letters. Words like murderer, betrayer, coward. Each word written in blood-red paint that glowed under the flickering lights. They tried to cover their eyes, but the words followed them, projected on walls, flashing across broken billboards. No matter where they ran, the city forced them to confront their sins. And then came the first trap. A long hallway stretched ahead, lined with mirrors. They entered, their footsteps echoing. At first, they only saw their reflections, tired, sweaty, angry. But as the seconds ticked, the reflections changed. The mirrors no longer showed their present selves. They showed the night they killed her. Each mirror replayed it differently. One showed the fist slamming into me, another showed the moment she fell, another showed their laughter. Over and over, their crime played back in distorted reflections. The leader, the one who struck her first, smashed the glass with his fists, but it only multiplied the images, shards flashing every angle of his guilt. The sound of her scream echoed through the hall, projected by hidden speakers. One of the weaker ones broke down, collapsing to his knees. Make it stop. Please, make it stop. The floor responded. The tile beneath him sank and a gaping hole swallowed him whole. 3 gone, I whispered. 9 remain. They stumbled into the next sector, a marketplace I had built from the skeleton of abandoned buildings. The stalls stood tall, covered with torn banners, but each stall displayed something different. Weapons, chains, ropes, masks. Tools they once used to terrorize others. The city forced them to choose. Each survivor had to pick an item before they could pass through the gates. Some grabbed knives, others chains. They looked around nervously, realizing the weapons weren't just for defense. The marketplace wasn't a gift. It was a test. The gates locked behind them. And the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the streets. Footsteps echoed, heavy breathing bouncing off the walls. Then the ground shook as the sound of doors slamming open rang out in the distance. Something else was in the city with them. I had unleashed the hounds, not real dogs but mechanical beasts built from steel and hydraulics. Their eyes burned crimson, their jaws dripping sparks. They sniffed, tracked, and hunted. The men screamed as the first hound charged from the shadows, tearing into one of them with steel claws. He fought, but his chain snapped uselessly against the machine's armor. The hound's jaws clamped down, dragging him into the dark. "For gone," I said. 8 remain. The others ran, weapons clattering, the city funneling them into narrower streets, tighter alleys. They swung blindly, every sound making them jump. Another hound pounced, dragging a second man away. His screams echoed until the night devoured him. 5 gone. 7 remain. By the time the hounds vanished, they were broken, sweaty, bleeding, trembling. The bravado was gone. Now there was only survival. They reached a square filled with broken street lamps. A fountain stood in the middle, but instead of water, thick black smoke poured from it, filling the air. They coughed, covering their faces, stumbling as the smoke spread. Then the speakers roared again. Every corner of this city remembers you. Every street carries your crimes. And the deeper you go, the closer you are to her grave. One of them shouted, "Stop hiding. If you want us dead, just do it." But I wasn't here to give them an easy death. I wanted them to live in fear. The smoke thickened, hiding the floor. They didn't realize the tiles were shifting again, rearranging into a maze. By the time they noticed, they were already lost inside. Cameras tracked every wrong turn, every moment of panic. Some of them screamed her name as if mocking the memory again would protect them. But the city punished every insult. Tiles dropped beneath their feet, sending 2 more plunging into the abyss. 7 gone. 5 remain. And as the clock struck 18 hours, halfway to midnight, I leaned back in my chair. The city was working. One by one they were falling. But this was only the beginning. The real test hadn't even started yet. The city was half dead now. The lights flickered in twisted rhythm, sirens wailed in the distance like broken screams, and the clock loomed above them all, glowing blood red. 6 hours. Half of them were already gone. swallowed by the abyss, torn apart by the hounds, suffocated by the city itself. 5 remained. But they were no longer the monsters I once knew. Their arrogance had melted away, burned down to raw panic. They stumbled through the alleys like hunted animals, whispering to each other, their eyes darting at every shadow. And yet, I felt nothing but rage. Fear was too merciful. They reached the bridge, a giant steel span connecting 2 districts of the city. Below, a bottomless pit churned with gears and fire. Chains rattled above, pulling at the beams. The bridge shook as they stepped onto it. Then the gates slammed shut on both ends. My voice echoed through the loudspeakers, calm, almost gentle. "You remember this place, don't you?" Their heads whipped around. They recognized it instantly. "This is where you cornered us. Where you laughed as you hit me. Where you shoved her down and never looked back. This bridge remembers. And so do I." One of them shouted into the void, his voice cracking, "We didn't mean to." "Liar." I roared. The bridge trembled, chains tightening like a heartbeat. "You meant every hit. Every laugh. Every word." The floor began to split, dividing the survivors from each other. Each one stranded on their own section of swaying steel. "Tonight, the bridge becomes your trial. Only one of you will leave alive. And even that depends on if you survive what's next." The first trap came fast. Blades swung down from the steel beams, massive pendulums slicing through the air. They ducked and screamed as the blades missed them by inches. Sparks rained from the chains above. One stumbled, his leg sliced open by the edge of the steel. Blood painted the floor. He cried out for help. But none came. They all clung to their own platforms, selfish, desperate. The blades swung again, this time with brutal precision. The weakest one was split cleanly, his scream cut short as his body fell into the gears below. 6 gone. 4 remain. The others shrieked, clinging tighter. The second trial began. The bridge tilted, chains groaning as the platforms lifted and dropped unevenly. They slid, grabbing at steel rails, their weapons clattering into the abyss. One tried to jump to the next platform, but the gap widened mid-air. His hands scraped steel, but gravity pulled him down. His body vanished into the smoke. 7 gone. 3 remain. The clock ticked louder. 4 hours. And then came the final stage. The chains snapped one by one. The entire bridge lurched violently. The last 3 men clung to the rails, screaming. And then, for the first time since this began, I stepped into view. The lights focused on me, standing at the far end of the bridge. A hood shadowed my face, but my voice was clear, sharp as a blade. "You've been running all night. But this is where it ends." Their eyes widened, horror mixing with recognition. "You," one of them whispered. "You should be dead." I pulled back the hood, letting them see me. Blood still scarred my lip from that night. My eyes burned with the weight of years. I said. "But tonight I am your executioner." The final 3 screamed, lunging toward me, but the bridge betrayed them. The floor collapsed beneath their feet, leaving them hanging by the rails. One by one their hands slipped. I watched each face twist in terror, watched the same smug expressions dissolve into begging. "Please," one cried. "I'll do anything. Spare me." I stepped closer, crouching down to meet his eyes. "You never spared her." His hands gave out. He fell. 8 gone. 2 remain. The last 2 hung side by side, their knuckles white, sweat dripping. One tried to pull the other down, clawing at his arms, desperate to save himself. Their betrayal came full circle as they turned on each other, kicking and screaming. I watched, silent, as their friendship shattered. And then, the bridge made the choice for them. The rails broke. They plummeted together into the abyss. 9, 10. All gone. The city fell silent. The clock struck midnight. Midnight. I stood alone on the bridge, the smoke rising around me. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest lifted. But there was no triumph. No joy. Only silence. The city had taken its revenge. And through it so had I. I whispered into the empty night, the words only for her. "It's over. They'll never hurt anyone again." The lights dimmed. The gears slowed. The city went back to sleep. And I walked into the shadows, leaving the ghosts behind.